Do I have to go to art school to become a successful artist? And the answer is not that simple, because like if you want to become a doctor, then you have to go to medical school for sure. You cannot become a doctor without medical education. If you want to become engineer, most likely you have to go to the engineer school. For many disciplines, it is obvious you have to get like proper education to become legitimate professional. But with art, it's actually not that simple. But if you look at the artists, like really successful artists, most of them, they have art education. But the question is, are they successful because of the education, or there is no connection? Or maybe sometimes education can be harmful for your style. I have been studying art 11 years. So I graduated from art college. It was like a classical art college, 5 years of education, and then 6 years of art academy. At that time when I started to study there, it was like classical school. And if you would ask me, do I regret for spending so many years of studying art school? Yes, in some sense, maybe yes, I regret. But did I get something from education that made me more successful in my business or not? I would say it does, but not because of the knowledge that you learn. Normally, people go into schools to get some knowledge, but it's not the case with the art school. Basically, what art school gives you the structured environment, which is like, I would say, the most important thing in a school. In this structured environment, you get the tasks and you have to do things that you, I would say, not willing to do on your own. But by trying those things, it basically enlarges your knowledge and your vision and understanding about the things. The art school, it is not the place where you learn something. I would say that's your first customer. It's same with the digital art. So for you as a digital artist, it's very important to have some customers that give you something to do, that make you portfolio. Because if you don't have portfolio, you have no way to get the job. So basically, if you're a customer, you get portfolio. And the same thing with the art school. Art school gives you like basic portfolio for your beginning, for your career. Talking about the magic, what happens in school. Think about 20 years ago. I was on the last year of academy, and there is some guy who's been sent to me, and somebody said him that I can teach them the modeling. And this guy wanted to enter academy. He asked me, can you help me to learn like modeling in like the basic level, so I can at least participate in exams and to get at least some marks? And he was the guy who had he owned like the design firm, like a furniture design firm. So he was like a CEO of like a company, like a decent big company. And he wanted to legitimate his professional skills with some education. So basically he don't need this education, but he because like to make myself more confident about like what I'm talking about with the clients, it would be nice if I had a good education, like good proper education. So why not to go to academy and study like design? And in order to get into this department, he should draw, paint, and sculpt. And he did like drawing and painting in his life, but he have never sculpted. So he decided, well, I need to just boost up my skills. And I knew from my experience that basically you cannot learn anything to anybody. The people, they're learning themselves. So what you can do, you can give them some kind of like magical environment, give them this self feeling that they can do the stuff. So basically, there was this guy who have never modeled in his life. And I said him, well, you need 3 lessons, each lesson maybe 1.5, 2 hours, and you will learn enough modeling to be ready to go to academy. Basically, you will learn good. You will learn modeling very well. And he believed. So I gave him the task. I ensured him that he owns this knowledge of sculpting. He has this knowledge of sculpting just by nature. And I said, well, you just have to open your skills and you have already everything you need for that. And I just show him a few tricks. And the main thing what I did, I gave him belief that he can model, even though he have never modeled, but I gave him this belief that he can model. And in 3 lessons, he modeled quite decent, like classical head. Basically, what you normally in college, we did it for the whole semester. He did it in 3 lessons. Just I gave him this feeling that he can do it. And basically, that's what teachers have to dude, like 3 weeks later, he called me and said, like, I have good news and the bad news for you. And like the bad news is that I dropped exams, like every single exam I dropped. And the good news is the only one exam that I get straight A was the modeling. So he said that's magic, and I just really wonder how it happened. But that the thing, but how it happened giving him the belief in himself and the structure, of course, where he did, and few tricks. So basically, you don't need much to teach people do great art. A final question is like, okay, you decided you want to have this confidence, and without having like a proper school, you will not have that confidence. And even if you are modeling or sculpting or whatever, like drawing, painting very well, still there is lack of self-esteem. Maybe you're not sure enough, and that basically affects the quality of work you do, and also quality of competitive capacity. And in the end, you need some education just to be sure that you did everything you could to become the best, but make sure that the art schools usually don't give you much of knowledge, so they just give you good papers. Basically, when you're looking at the schools and you're thinking which school to study art, there are two types of art schools that you can choose from. Type 1 is the school where they really teach you something, where you can learn stuff. And the second one, there are prestigious schools. And both of them can like benefit you in the big time. So how you distinguish one and another? So it's very easy to understand if the school is prestigious or not just by looking at the rating. And sometimes they are very expensive and in known schools. And in case if you don't have enough resources to study in prestigious school, there's a second option, which is also very good, is to find a school which teach you the stuff, like a really, really like this school where you can learn something. And how to find the school, how to distinguish the school which give you a knowledge from the one which doesn't. So if every student or every graduate from that school has their own style, so basically when you look at the final show and there's like everyone is very different, then probably that's not the school where you can learn something. But if like almost every graduate has something in common, so they have some particular style which is typical for that school, then probably the school is where you can learn something. And why I say so? Because in school where everyone is different, they live on their own. They try to survive on their own. They find their own style. If every student is different, it's a good sign that this school doesn't have strong tradition. And if there is not much tradition, then probably they don't give you much of the knowledge. Good classical school teaches you boring classical knowledge. Schools that are giving you artistic freedom and inspiration, those are not usually the schools that give you the knowledge. They give you, as I said, this structured environment, which is also very important. But in case of those very creative and free schools, it's better if they are prestigious. So those are tips that I wanted to give you about choosing the art school. So there's like two questions in the end. Does art schools give you the knowledge enough to become successful artist? No. And the second question, do I have to go to art school in order to become successful artist? Yes.